everyone, and welcome to Blacklisted Podcast. I'm your host, Ace, and joining me is my friend Lex. So recently, the accusations outbreak has struck again with another accusation against a candidate for Supreme Court Justice, Brett Kavanaugh.
See, he was accused of quote-unquote inappropriately touching Christine Blasey Ford at a party when they were in high school, which was in the early 1980s, just to tell you.
Well, not only did she not have any proof that the accusations are true, but according to her, she can't remember most of the incidents because she has admitted to not remembering the key details. See, I don't understand why she would come out all of a sudden accusing him over something that happened 38 years ago. I'm not choosing sides here, but why come out 38 years later? Did you not think this was of importance 38 years ago? I know for a fact that if this happened to me, I would personally tell the proper authorities right there.
See, I agree. I would tell the proper authorities. I mean, that's just crazy, freaky, especially at the age that she was. I mean, to me, it sounds like a plot. They're trying to ruin his campaign, in a sense, trying to ruin his life. I mean, people are accused of this. People don't realize it ruins their lives. People have hard times trusting you. They won't trust you around children. They won't trust you around certain adults.
In this case, if he was labeled as this now, he would have to label himself as a predator, and he'd have to tell everyone in his neighborhood about it. Where he lives, he would have to post it almost on his door saying, hey, I'm a predator. And it would ruin his life and ruin his chances of becoming the Supreme Court Justice.
Exactly. See, and when Christine was interviewed, she stated that Brett's friend Mark Judge was there and drinking heavily as well. So he wouldn't be like a proper witness if he doesn't remember anything. When asked, Judge stated that he doesn't recall going to a party or hearing of any party that she described. He also stated that Brett had never shown any type of action the whole time that he has known him.
Okay, well, with that, since Mark Judge was a longtime friend of Kavanaugh, you would have thought that he would have come out and at least said, if this was any bit true, yeah, he can show some tendencies to be harsh to women or be sexually abusive to them or anything like that. But according to Mark Judge, one of his best friends in high school, he never showed any signs of that, which would have been the first sign of a red flag saying, yeah, this could have been him. He could have assaulted her. But as of right now, with with his statement, it doesn't seem like he would have done that. But I'm not choosing sides. I'll hear the rest.
No, granted, people do change over time. You and I both know this. We've had personal experiences with this. But what he's accused of, it's a little overboard. I mean, he has no history of mental health issues. Now, normally when people do this, there's something wrong with them, mentally, either they grew up around it, or they were raised that way, or there's something wrong with them. So, you gotta think, if there's nothing wrong with him, and he showed no signs of wanting to do this, like, why would he just all of a sudden do it? Plus, it was in the 1980s, they were in high school together. They were 15. So how would that be categorized as rape?
Well, of course, or sexual assault. Like, he was in high school. He wasn't like a full-fledged adult. Now, if the claim was she was in high school and he was a 25-year-old man who just showed up at a high school party and raped her, that's a lot different. That's a lot different. That could have been worse for him now. But as it's stating right now, he was the same age as her, maybe a little bit older. He was still in high school at the time, so they were in high school, and if this did happen, and I'm not supporting this in any way, but they were both in high school, and if she allowed him to get her into a room, she would have had some blame in this too. Not saying that he didn't throw her into a room, because that is very possible, but she would have had to allow him to do something somewhere along the line to get her in there. And yeah, she was 14 at the time, but he would have been 15 or 16, maybe even the 14 as well. And at this party, how would they have gotten alcohol? How would they have gotten them in the same house? I mean, parents back then would have been the same as now. You couldn't have just let your kid go off to some party, high school party, when they're 14 without a phone or anything, or without someone being there. Because it was in the 1980s. There was no iPhone you pull out and call 911 and say someone's hurting me. You would have had to go downstairs to their landline. And you would have thought someone would have heard her scream at this party, because even if there's music playing, you couldn't hear a lady scream, help or something. And with Mark Judge coming out saying, hey, I've never heard of this before, it's a little bit sketchy to me. But that's, yeah. And with that, Christine has named 2 other people who were at the party during this event. One being Judge, who we explained earlier, and the other is Patrick J. Smith. He also denied being at the event, then said that he wanted nothing to do with the case, which is a little fishy to me, but I'll let that slide. And there was one more who hasn't released a public statement yet, but will probably because of the case. But with all 3 people that have been named, all against Christine's accusations, the plot is starting to fall apart. It's kind of obvious, not obvious, but it's kind of showing that she might be stretching the truth a little bit. Maybe he did touch her inappropriately, but
who's to say if she enjoyed it or not?
Who's to say she didn't tell him to do it, and then whenever he went too far, she didn't know what to do? She might have gotten nervous and said he raped her. It's not my place to say, but if it was a true rape, I would have thought she would have come out right then. Because if he was 14 when this happened, there would have had to been something that she would have come out and said, hey, this guy inappropriately touched me at this party, and I need help.
I mean, and even if he threatened her, saying, "Oh, if you tell, I'll kill you," or something. Back then, you got to remember, the police weren't as strict, but they did a lot more back in the 80s than they do nowadays. I mean, nowadays you got the ongoing war of, for example, African Americans and police brutality and all that. That has nothing to do with this, but police back in the 80s, they cared so much about their neighborhoods and where they grew up that they literally loved their neighborhoods, and they would take care of the people who lived near them. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and right after she said this whole accusation, 65 women who said they personally knew Kavanaugh stated in a letter that they all have signed that, quote unquote, for the entire time we have known Brett Kavanaugh, he has behaved honorably and treated women with respect. Okay, but again, with 65 women saying he treated them with dignity and respect, it is hard to believe that he would step out of line for one girl at a high school party. It makes no sense to me.
I mean, they're accusing him of this. I mean, he's running for Supreme Court. I mean, if he did do this, why would you not come out 38 years ago? Why would you wait 30 years later, and why would you happen to tell it right as he's running for the election?
That's the sketchy part of it. If he wasn't running for anything, and it was 1990, and she came out saying it was 10 years later. But if he's not running for anything, which I think plays a big part in this, I think that it would be taken a lot more seriously and under a lot less scrutiny, because with this, she is a publicly known Democrat, and and one of her biggest influences has come out against Trump and against the Republicans. So with this, it kind of proposes a thought that she might have just stretched the truth a little bit on what she said to try to get him to not run, or to get his run kind of canceled almost. Because maybe she wants a Democrat to win. I'm not accusing her of this. I'm not accusing her of lying. Don't get me wrong. I support women who have been raped. I think that is a horrible thing, that rapists need to be treated like criminals.
But the whole thing is the timing of it. It's just the timing is the fishy part about it. Now, if you were raped, there's a possibility it's a coincidence. He could be running and you just now had the courage to come out with it. But you could also be looking for publicity. Pointing out, oh man, this guy raped me 38 years ago, but then you're thinking deep down, oh, wait, if I just say this, then maybe, he'll stop running and, Trump won't have another person in his army.
Another thing, with everything going on right now, and the left really despising Trump, there is a lot of stress between if Republicans get elected and if Democrats get elected. because if more Democrats than Republicans get elected, there's a higher chance that Trump could get impeached. I'm not saying that he has any reason to be, or saying that he doesn't have a reason to be, but there is a fine line on where she has stated this. And with everything that has been going on recently, with everyone and their sister creating a rape claim against someone else that has been proven false multiple times over and over and over, it's very hard to see or to think of that this is true. And like I said, I'm not going to choose sides saying, hey, she's a liar and she needs to go to jail for this. But I'm not saying that I believe her fully and that Brett should stop running.
I mean, and like I said, it could be, the truth and be a coincidence, or it could be she's looking for publicity. It could be an act to, go against Trump. It could be, there's a million different things that it could be. But it's just the timing of her bringing this out right when he's about to be running for Supreme Court. Like, that's what gets me. Like, it's the timing of this. Like, why would you wait till now to come out with it?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, even, like you said earlier, if it was 10 years later and she came out with it, okay, I understand, she didn't want to say anything. Maybe she was scared to say anything, didn't want to get him into trouble. And then you said something. That's different. But you're coming out right before an election and saying this. Like, that's just a little fishy to me.
Yeah, but we're getting up on the time we have. But as the end-all, be-all, we need to not take every rape claim as serious as everyone else says. And that sounds horribly wrong, but unless they can provide some bit of proof, unless they can say, yeah, I truly believe he did this to me, and I will do anything in my power to show you guys that he did this, then they should not just believe everything that anyone says about a claim. I mean, if I would walk out and say, hey, sky's purple, and people say, no, it's blue, and I say that, hey, they raped me until they say, oh, the sky is purple, that it's wrong. And I mean, that's almost what's going on now. Until they get the people they want elected, or out of Hollywood, or anything, they'll say, oh, they raped me, or oh, this and that, until they either leave or get impeached or something, so they get the right people or the people they want in, which I think is way against the law, and those people who lie and get caught lying should be prosecuted with the full extent of the law. But we need to end this up because that's really all the time we have. So thanks for listening to this podcast, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I want to thank Lex, my buddy, for joining me. Have a great rest of your day, guys. See you later. Hello, everyone.